Hi, Nick Biron from 360 Insights, and wanted to continue on with a series I've been doing of posts and videos over the past few months, really focusing on kind of the big troubling issue I've been seeing with organizational change. Now, don't get me wrong, I used to write a long time ago about organizational change and really how many organizations were failing because they just had this inability to keep up with the times and to change as technology and trends were changing. And I still believe that to be true. I think there needs to be a level of change within an organization that's really keeping up with competition, trends, times, technology, so on and so forth. But this is a different type of, I would say, organizational change that, quite honestly, it makes me wonder how some of these businesses stay in business and make any type of money. Now, one of the first, I think it was a video I did a couple months back, was basically on how I've been seeing that the average tenure of executives shrinking rapidly. And that really has been impacting the way organizations have been figuring out their strategy and go to business. Meaning, you bring in a new executive, they want to establish themselves, they want to create their own plans, they want to bring in their new teams. And it's basically like hitting a reset button for that team, that department, that organization. The other thing that I talked about in an article that I wrote is where you might have some organizations that aren't seeing rapid change, but at the same time you have and I say change, I mean executive change. But at the same time, they're rapidly changing their go-to-market strategy. I equated it to, driving down the highway and basically jerking the wheel at 70 miles an hour in a completely different direction. And those two things, I believe, are really extremely detrimental, excuse me, to organizations. And I've been seeing this over the past few years. Now, you start to combine the two, and this is what I want to get into this video, is it becomes deadly for organizations. And I will tell you, if you want to know why some software and technology organizations are being more successful than others and why some businesses overall are being more successful than others, it really has to be that the successful businesses have a real strong established plan. They're moving forward to that. They make small incremental changes to their plans, and they're holding on and retaining to their executive leadership and their team. And they might have some turnover, but not nearly as much as on the other side. Where on this flip side, and these are very much businesses that I've observed through the work that we've done at 360 Insights, but also in my career of almost 30 years in software and technology, are the organizations that constantly cannot seem to plant their feet in one direction or another. Their strategies are always changing. Their footprint from an organizational employee perspective is always changing. And it just seems like they can never grasp hold on anything. In some cases, it makes me wonder how they make money or stay in business at all. And I think it's just simply the fact that they have a bankroll that they're burning off, and eventually either that bankroll runs out or they find a way to convince people to throw more money into it. I can tell you that it is extremely disruptive to trying to win any type of business or grow any type of business if you're always in an organizational change. And I'm going to give you one example. Just this is one, and I've actually ran into this, I would say, multiple times, even over the past year or so, where this one organization, we've had a relationship with them for a couple of years now. And it started where they brought in a new CEO. And with that new CEO was they wanted to change the overall direction of this organization. And quite honestly, that change back then, I 100% agreed with. I think it was a great change for the organization and a really great way to them having a path line to growing the business. With that, he brought on new staff, he brought on new marketing people, and they started to march in the same direction. But one challenge is that within about 6 to 8 months, the original marketing person disappeared. I don't know if she was let go or if she quit. She left. They brought in a new marketing person. And then she was starting to set the marketing strategy and the go-to-market strategy for this organization as they started to move forward. But then about, I'd say, less than 18 months into the tenure of the CEO, he left and they brought in a new CEO. Now, this CEO essentially wanted to basically continue on with that path, but he had his own grand scheme, his own grand plans. He started to bring in his own leadership teams and individuals, and they started to go down their path. Well, what happened was he let go of that existing marketing person and decided to bring on a new marketing person. They started to continue down the path, and lo and behold, that new marketing person is now bringing on another marketing person. Um, I don't know how you can get any business done with such change in an organization. You change the business from a radical change from their traditional go-to-market strategy, bring in executive leadership, bring in people to guide the go-to-market strategy, and then you change them, and then you change them again. I will tell you that that is no way to run a business. And this is something that I'm really trying to work with our advisory clients around is giving them guidance to how do you really truly create a strategy that gets everyone rowing in the same direction. It starts from the top down. If you have stability at the top, you can get people to really buy into the corporate culture and direction of the organization. But if you're seeing massive amounts of turnover in executive leadership, marketing leadership, sales leadership, and so on and so forth, everyone's just going to have that feeling of uncertainty. Is this new CEO going to fire me and replace me with someone that they would prefer, or someone that they know, or just fire me because they want a clean slate? Is the new direction going to be something I'm comfortable with? Is this new? Am I going to gel with this new executive? And the list goes on. But more importantly, if you can't get everyone to row in the same direction, you will never be successful as an organization. I'm really urging executive leadership to really think about how are they going to market from that standpoint. And I even should say board members, because I think a lot of the times it's the board that are forcing the executives out the door because they're not happy with the strategy. And at the end of the day, you really have to create stability. If you want your business to be successful or an organization that you're on the board of to be successful, you really have to get everyone rowing in the same direction. The first thing to do is get that stability from the top. You need to have a long-term leadership perspective where you have these executives, CEO, head of marketing, head of sales, head of product, in seat for 3, 4, 5 years. Create that stability and that longevity. Then create a solid marketing plan where you're making small changes and adjustments to it over time and not making these really widespread jerking of the wheel, radical changes that are going to be disruptive to your business, your clients, your employees, and everything aligned to those things. At the end of the day, I feel like I'm on my soapbox a little bit, but I am seeing this. It's almost become an epidemic where so many organizations I am seeing are struggling and they're blaming it on the economy. They're blaming on AI. They're blaming it on the workforce or lack of workers and remote work and working from home. But the reality is they need to look internally. How long has your executive staff been around? How many times are you changing the strategy? Are you waiting to have the perfectly executed plan before you get things in place? Most likely, if you're struggling, you're dealing with those types of things. Because I will tell you, the companies that are not struggling are the ones that are developing a strong plan. They have a strong executive leadership history. They're marching forward in the same direction. They have everyone rowing in the boat in the organization in the same direction, and they all know where they're going. They're not waiting for directions. They're not waiting for leadership. They're not waiting for a plan to be laid place that takes 3 months to 4 months to happen. They're all doing it. They're executing it now and making small but impactful changes to the organization. I hope you guys find this video useful. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I mean, we focus so much on the voice of the customer, the voice of businesses. If you are experiencing any of these, whether it's a stable company that's seeing success, love to learn more. What are you guys doing? How are you seeing that? But if you're in a struggling organization, love to learn. Why do you believe that you're struggling? What are you most challenged with? And then if there's a way that we can either share that story via 360 Insights or help you, we'd love to see if we can do that as well.